Okay. This is T York Politics, where we spill the tea on New York politics. I'm Daquan Chung. I was the digital manager for Maya Wiley's 2001 mayoral campaign, and I was the digital manager for the city council and the speaker of the city council, Adrian Adams. And I am with my good friend.
My name is Brian Allen. I use he, him, they, them pronouns. I am an equity and inclusion consultant and a doctoral student at Teachers College, Columbia University in the higher and post-secondary ed program.
Cool. So we're going to kick today's show off with a segment that we like to call ASMR Politician Shit Talk. And so I want to talk shit about politicians that I don't like in my ASMR voice. Today's target is none other than the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, who is trash. Donald Trump, you big bag, beluga whale shaped, convicted felon rapist. Why are you having closed door meetings with crypto investors? You need to be in a crypt. Every time I see you on TV, my blood pressure rises. You want to talk about how Joe Biden has dementia? Why are you on TV talking about Hannibal Lecter, who is a fictional character, thinking that he is a real life man? And that was ASMR Politician Shit Talk. Cool. So a lot of stuff is going on in New York politics. So let's just jump right into hot topics.
Cool.
So recently, the New York State Department of Education has decided that it is going to reject the Trump administration's demand to do away with certain diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in our state. And so the administration was threatening to pull federal funding for our state's Department of Education, which obviously funds schools across the state as well as the city of New York. And so the state Department of Education decided that they're not going to meet the demands and they're not going to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in schools in New York State.
Yeah, which is wild. Like, I think it was the school of the Department of Education or the federal government itself said, like, receiving federal funds is a privilege, not a right. That's ridiculous to me. And I don't know. I just feel like this entire attack on DEI is so, like, unbased or just, like, poorly founded. Just because, like, folks say that it disadvantages or discriminates against a population when really the purpose of DEI is to remedy the past effects of, one, slavery, two, civil rights infractions, and like continued discrimination, like redlining and things like that. So it really just, I'm really struggling to understand how DEI has become the face of just like continued white supremacy.
I think we need to call it out for what it is. It's just these people being racist.
Yeah.
Like, they don't like black people, they don't like brown people, they don't like immigrants, they don't like queer and trans people, and they don't like women, and they don't want to see us thrive.
Yeah.
And they want us to suffer. And they don't, like, they're racist. They're racist, they're transphobic, they're homophobic. And then they're just using DEI as a disguise for their racism, their homophobia, and their transphobia, and their hatred for women. I'm happy that the New York State Department of Education did this, especially for New York City. Like, this is a city of immigrants. This is a city that has a high population of black people. Our immigrant population is high. And so these initiatives are important. They're at the foundation of almost like who we are in the fabric of like who we are as New Yorkers and our city. And so I think the New York State Department of Education did the right thing here.
Yeah, I think so too. It just seems like folks are they view equity as disadvantage or discrimination. And so it's just really interesting how equaling the playing field or leveling the playing field just becomes so like so much of an attack against communities of color and other marginalized groups.
I feel like within this DEI conversation, there's become this narrative now around how DEI initiatives are taking away and affecting white men. And I'm just like, literally the system was set up for white men to literally thrive. So
and
it's just
DEI initiatives are accessed and benefit white women when we talk about like demographics of people who benefit the most from affirmative action, which also, by the way, was like put into place in order to access certain benefits that diverse populations have to offer the majority population. So it's like, y'all just really don't give a fuck at the end of the day.
I just feel, I mean, just like look at the presidency. Like you're trying to say that people of color are taking away opportunities from white people and white men. Like we've had one nigger president. And it's like, we had one black president.
Barely.
He's black.
No, he is black.
Yeah, we had one black president. All the other presidents are white men. We haven't even had a woman president. We haven't had an Asian president. We haven't had a Hispanic or Latino president. It's like, thankfully, Barack got to sneak in there. But it's like, y'all talk about white men are being, pushed against the wall and white men have it the hardest in America right now. Like, y'all are smoking crack. Somebody
still, that was just one presidency. That was one presidency, 8 years, and look at the backlash that has caused. Literally, people are rolling back legislation and policies that have been in place for over 200 years, for centuries. And now suddenly we're attacking Roe v. Wade. Like, when does that happen?
Yeah, and I think to speak back to the DEI part of this, I think the DEI initiatives, I think they are important. And I think, other schools, other states that are sort of, because the Trump administration is sort of, pushing states, even universities that get federal funding to cut their DEI initiatives. I feel like everyone sort of needs to stand up on this and sort of put their foot down.
Like Harvard.
If they can afford to.
Yeah.
And I think there's ways around to meet the demands of sort of, I don't know the full details of what they're asking to cut. But I believe the New York State Department of Education is sort of finding a way to comply with this in a way where they're not cutting these initiatives. But it's still working. It's like a workaround of whatever the Trump administration is trying to do to get them to actually cut these programs.
I mean, Columbia University fully conceded. Like they're like bending over backwards to accept whatever this man is pushing down the pike. So
pussies.
I know. As an affiliate of the university, it is very embarrassing to see them move that way.
Literally pussy shit. Like grow some balls. Also, like, we mainly want to focus on like New York, but like in this country right now, like we're facing a fascist regime. So it's like everybody got to buck up, put their big girl panties on, and we gotta stand up to fascism.
Yeah. But like when it comes to DEI, when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to LGBTQ issues, like it really just pushes folks to like stand, like really show where they stand. And if anybody is like, I just really believe that like silence is violence, and being complicit is like we can't afford for folks to be complicit and just like absolve themselves from these issues, whether they directly affect you or not. And so like I'm really looking at like these like administrators, these university leads, these school superintendents and leads, like it's really up to them to like say like, this isn't allowed or acceptable in our school district, at our university or institution. We're taking a stand, and this is the type of community environment, learning environment that we want to promote for our students.
I agree. Okay, moving on. So a lot of New Yorkers probably don't know this, but it is now citywide law that it is mandatory for you to compost.
What?
Are you composting?
Hell no. What?
Do you have a composting bin at your apartment?
I ain't never composted. Don't have a composter bin. Nobody in my building has mentioned it. This is news to me.
Yeah, so the city council passed a law, I believe last year, and it's now mandatory for all New Yorkers to compost. So if you live in an apartment building, you should have composting bins in your apartment building. It's your landlord's responsibility
They provide them.
to provide those for you. And if
Okay.
you live in a house, then you should buy a composting bin and you're supposed to be composting.
When did
and-
this go into effect?
This went into effect, I believe, at the end of last year.
Okay.
But recently, the mayor. So one of the ways the Department of Sanitation was enforcing this law was that they were using fines. They were supposed to advertise a program, which they did after they started implementing fines,
Mhm.
which I think is stupid. Because I did get a flyer in the mail, but it was after they started fining people. So I'm just like, you should spend your money to advertise that this is now in effect before you start fining
But it's
people.
retroactively going back.
But recently, the mayor decided to pause the fines for composting.
I'm sure they were getting hella backlash. Like,
Yes, but I think the reason that he said that he paused the composting fines was that to not hurt working class New Yorkers. And so, like, I think originally the mayor didn't. So the city council was the one who passed this law.
mhm.
So I think the mayor didn't even agree with this law in the first place. And so I think he basically just doesn't want to enforce it.
Okay.
So now he's trying to pause the fines and using the excuse of it affecting working class New Yorkers
yeah.
to like justify why he's canceling it.
Yeah.
But it's like in the same breath, the Rent Guidelines Board, which controls the rent for rent stabilized apartments in New York, just did a preliminary vote to raise the rent on New Yorkers. And the Rent Guidelines Board is controlled by the mayor.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't say in one breath that you care about working class New Yorkers and you're going to pause composting fines, which are used to enforce a law. Like you have to enforce laws.
yeah.
Like you can't just decide you don't want to enforce laws and then in the same breath raise rents on hardworking New Yorkers. Like the majority of working class New Yorkers live in rent stabilized apartments.
Yeah.
Like I think this mayor is just full of shit.
yeah. It's very contradictory.
Yeah, I think he's full of shit. I think he doesn't care about working class New Yorkers. And I think it's just like he's just using this as an excuse to not enforce a law that he doesn't like.
Also, I live in East Harlem. I don't know too many people that are going to be actively composting in my neighborhood or in uptown. Like, they're literally going to have to find everybody. Like,
I think the thing that sucks about the composting is that you have to leave the trash, like you have to keep the trash in your apartment until you put it outside, which like,
the way that these buildings are set up with rats and roaches, like, it's going to be a 311 situation 24/7.
literally. Okay, so the singer, am I saying her name right?
Kalani.
I was going to say Kehlani. Kalani had recently was scheduled to do a Central Park Pride concert.
Yeah.
And can you just fill in the details here?
So essentially, Summer Stage, which is the Central Park like summer concert series, had booked Kalani to do a concert. She was one of the last concerts that was going to take place during the summer, I believe. And as many folks may have seen on her social media or their social media, I'm not sure of their pronouns, but basically they've been very vocal about the genocide that's taking place in Gaza and the conflict between Palestine and Israel. And they've been very clear in statements like, I'm working with members of the Jewish community. I am not anti-Semitic. I'm just very anti-genocide. And has said this while also publicly calling out like public officials, Netanyahu, how do you say his name? The president of Israel, Netanyahu, exactly. And so, yeah, there have been officials in New York, Richie Torres, who had tweeted some things like it's unsafe to have this individual perform in New York City. It's now suddenly become a safety issue because of their statements. And the Summer Stage folks team initially said that they weren't going to cancel their show. And then after it started to get some attention within, I guess, the Jewish community, they circled back and ended up canceling it because of those statements by New York officials.
It's so crazy. I feel like I can't pronounce a lot of people's names, but it's like for some reason I knew how to pronounce Netanyahu's name. Yeah. Also, I think what's also the context of this is like Richie Torres, who is the congressman who represents part of the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who sort of brought this attention. I believe he also tweeted the mayor asking him why he would allow Kehlani to perform this concert when, you know, she has the views that she has about the genocide in Gaza.
Which are also like not unpopular opinions for New Yorkers in the city, like understanding that New York has a large significant Jewish population, but even within that population, like there are Jewish folks who are anti-genocide. So I just don't understand, like even with the things that are happening at Columbia with the encampments and protests, like people aren't violently protesting Zionism, like they're just being vocal about people dying senselessly and unnecessarily over land over there. So I really don't understand like the connection or the correlation between First Amendment, public opinion, and safety at a concert.
What gets me about this whole situation and what I'm having a hard time understanding is AIPAC is the political PAC of Israel that funds Congress members and elected officials who support, you know, Israel's right to be a state. And they heavily fund Richie Torres.
They do.
Yes, but is it just the money? I just don't understand. Is it just the money from AIPAC that has these politicians sort of in the pocket of Israel? Or I just don't understand where all the shilling comes from, because this issue sort of, from a humanitarian standpoint, it just seems very clear to me. And I just don't understand. I mean, usually like you follow the money in that. I guess maybe it is just a money thing. Like they're buying off the politicians and that's what it is. I don't think
there's that much money, because it seems like the U.S. is sending more money to Israel than what we're receiving. So like it really doesn't make sense to me at all.
Well, AIPAC is a political PAC that lobbies members of Congress.
For sure.
So basically like they're buying off members of Congress to sort of support Israel.
Yeah.
So it's not so much like the United States as a whole sending money to Israel, but more so that Israeli PAC giving Congress people money, like to support them in their elections. And of course, like you give somebody some money, they're going to expect something in return.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but Netanyahu actually did a press conference in Israel, and he was basically saying like we're at a critical point in our history where like we're gonna take over Gaza, like it's gonna be ours, and we have a secret weapon in our arsenal. And a lot of folks have like speculated that he was talking about the United States and Donald Trump as being like that coded weapon.
Netanyahu will be the next politician that I shit talk on.
Drag him for Phil.
ASMR politician shit talk segment. Okay, so recently the mayor announced the city's summer safety plan, which will include a plan to use drones at New York City beaches as a way to...
Who's the mayor? I'm kidding. I
was like, wait a second. Anyway.
You got to do ASMR for him next.
Yeah, he's on the list. He's on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on the list. Anyway, so the mayor announced the Summer City Safety Plan, which includes the use of using drones at New York City beaches to detect people who are drowning.
Okay.
And so the drones are actually also going to use the mayor's voice. And so, like, if a person is drowning in one of New York City's beaches, then the drone will come to them, and it will tell them that like safety is on the way.
Using Eric Adams'
Eric Adams' voice.
Is if I'm drowning and all I hear is Eric Adams' voice trying to say,
Let me go.
let me go. I'm done.
Let me
Drown.
go. I think the cool thing about the drone technology is that it also holds like safety floaty devices. So it can also deploy the safety floaty devices to
that's
save the
good.
person. And then it can also give them directions of like how to maybe safely paddle or like
Which
how
direction to swim? Probably.
yeah, which direction to swim
But
to
still
like
in Eric
until
Adams'
someone
voice.
until someone comes and saves them. I just thought this was hilarious. Like I could literally not imagine like I'm getting ready to die
Lord, take me now.
and the last thing I hear is Eric Adams' voice being like, New York, Istanbul is the New York City of Turkey. Help is on the way.
Swim harder, shorty. Like, yo, that's wild. Don't they have like template voices? Like, I would actually prefer like an Australian accent or like a British person. Like,
Oh, Eric Adams is full of himself and he's probably made the decision
He
for them
probably
to
decided
use
that.
his voice.
oh, most definitely.
You know that they definitely could use other voices.
That's ridiculous. Wow. Well, hopefully we experience less drownings this summer.
Yeah, I honestly hope for all New Yorkers' sakes that no one drowns this summer because I don't want to wish anyone like potentially dying and the last thing that they hear is Eric Adams' voice.
Like, what?
Okay, moving on. Recently, the Trump administration's Department of Justice opened an investigation into former governor and serial sexual harasser Andrew Cuomo, who is now running for mayor. And so the Department of Justice is calling for a criminal inquiry into when former governor Andrew Cuomo went to Congress and he had to testify against decisions he made during the coronavirus pandemic as governor. And so they're accusing him of lying to Congress. And so obviously when you go to Congress, you take an oath and you're not supposed to lie.
Yeah.
And so the DOJ is like opening a criminal investigation into him.
Which is a good thing.
This is how I feel about this. Andrew Cuomo knowingly made decisions that led to the deaths of elder people in nursing homes during the pandemic. And he was covering them up in the numbers of how many deaths of old people that happened in our state.
Yeah.
Because at the time he was writing and getting ready to promote a book and he didn't want that
To negatively affect
to negatively affect his book that he was working on. And so like he did commit crimes. My issue with this is Trump's Department of Justice, Trump is literally one of the biggest criminals.
Yeah.
And it's like you want to open an investigation on someone lying to Congress. Literally, the president of the United States literally lies every single day. And so like to me, this is political.
Yeah.
And so like the Department of Justice is literally like, we have a mayor's election coming up. Cuomo is in that race and they're using this as a political tool to try to tip that election. And so I think they're either trying to do two things. One, I think either Trump wants Cuomo to be mayor. And so Cuomo is backed by a lot of the same Republican donors that support Trump. And so I think either he's their guy and they want him to be mayor. And so one of the main attacks right now against Cuomo from his opponents in the mayor's race is that if he's elected mayor, because he has close ties with those donors who also, the Republican donors who also support Trump, that he's going to do Trump's bidding if he's mayor.
Okay.
And so like opening this investigation kind of negates those attacks in a way. And so I think that's one thing.
But then also like exonerate, like if they're able to like dissuade or I guess absolve him of those crimes or make it seem as though he didn't commit them. But then also like the same way that he just got Eric Adams off for like the things that he was being charged with or being accused of, like can't they just do the same?
Yeah, well, the other thing is that I think that the Trump administration wants Eric Adams to be the mayor. And so Andrew Cuomo is going to be his biggest competition if he wins the Democratic nomination and moves on to the general election in November. And so I think they're trying to tilt the scales. Either they're tilting the scales for Andrew or they're tilting the scales for Eric. But either way,
it seems like they're stacking the ballot. Like Trump has basically like done Eric Adams a solid. It seems as though he has the potential to do something for Cuomo. Eric Adams is now independent. Cuomo's a Democrat. I don't know who's on the ballot for the Republicans, but like everybody kind of is under like the umbrella of Trump's administration right now, it seems like.
I don't know if New Yorkers are paying attention to the mayor's race yet, but if they are, they don't need to be voting for either of these people. And that's how I feel about that.
Out of all of the people that are running for mayor.
But
you should run for mayor.
I absolutely. Elected office is, I hope that is not in my future.
Yeah.
Never say never, but from what I've seen of literally working in politics is not for me.
No.
But staying on the topic of the mayor's race, New York City, we have a mayor's election coming up. The primary is on June 24th. And so here's a quick rundown of what's going on. We have a Democratic primary. It's happening on June 24th. Right now, who's running is the former governor, serial sexual harasser, who has 12 to 13 credible sexual harassment allegations against him. Andrew Cuomo is running for mayor. We have Assembly member from Queens, Zohran Mamdani, the Speaker of the City Council, Adrienne Adams, who is my former boss, State Senator Zelnor Myrie, the current City Comptroller, Brad Lander, and State Senator Jessica Ramos. So that is the Democratic field. And there's also a Republican primary, and I don't know what's going on over there because I don't care. And basically, also, this is a ranked choice election. And so basically...
Did you say Maya Wiley?
Maya Wiley is not running.
She's not running?
No. Maya is... I think that was a one and done, like...
Was that her first time running?
That was her first time running for office.
First and last?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And she's now the head of the Civil Rights Org, which is the oldest civil rights organization in the country. So I think she splits her time a lot between Washington, D.C. and New York. But I think I think she...
We need a hero.
We need something. I think she really wanted to be mayor because she also had worked in City Hall.
Okay.
But I think she wanted that job. I don't think she I think she saw what she could do good in that position. I don't think she wants to be like a politician.
Yeah.
She's also a civil rights lawyer, so I think she's doing good work at the Civil Rights Org.
And also thinking like being mayor under Trump's administration is probably like the worst thing ever. So
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of playing sort of opposition and being on defense, which is like not a position that I would want to be in as mayor.
Which seems like what Hochul is doing at the governor level.
But she's not doing enough. She needs to be doing more.
Fair.
And then just to give you a snapshot of what's going on polling wise in the race, there's a recent poll and it has Andrew Cuomo in the lead. And so basically what happens in ranked choice voting is if no candidate gets over 50% in the first round, then it triggers ranked choice voting. And so every round, the person with the least amount of votes will get eliminated. And then the last two candidates standing, the candidate with the most votes would win. And so right now, this poll has Cuomo at 60%. And then the person in second is Zohran Mamdani with 40%.
This sounds like Drag Race All-Stars.
I think it's early. Like, I think a lot of people, like a lot of people on the internet are sort of, one, they're making the wrong sort of rhetoric saying that like people need to drop out. Like we have ranked choice voting. You can vote for 5 people.
Yeah.
You also like, if you only want to vote for one person, you can vote for one person. If you want to rank 2 people, you can rank 2 people. But you can rank up to 5 people.
Okay.
And so nobody needs to drop out.
Not even the pastor on 125th.
I don't even think that. I think that pastor's name is like Manning. He's not even listed in the polls. Like he's not even polling. New Yorkers have no idea who that man is.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah, so also in the mayor's race, I thought this was funny, and so I want to talk about it.
Mhm.
The Speaker of the City Council, Speaker Adrienne Adams, she punished 2 council members for endorsing Andrew Cuomo.
Okay.
And so she removed them, council members Sylvina Brooke Powers and Lynn Showman. She removed them from the council's budget negotiating team. And so basically, the council right now is in negotiations with the mayor for the city's budget. And so the city's budget legally needs to be done by the end of June. That's the law. Like they need to handshake on the budget that they have an agreement. And so the council has a budget negotiating team that negotiates with the mayor of what gets in the budget. And so she removed those 2 members from the budget negotiating team because they endorsed Andrew Cuomo. And then also the back part of this is one member, Sylvina Brooke Powers, is basically like the speaker's mentee.
Okay.
And so I feel like the speaker also probably maybe took this personal because
By her endorsing
Andrew Cuomo, because she also moved Sylvina's seat in the council. In
Like
the
they sat
council
by each
chambers.
other?
Yeah, they used to sit next to each other. And she moved Sylvina's seat 1 seat over.
Oh yeah, she's
And
big mad.
And the deputy speaker is now the one sitting next to the speaker. I don't know. I feel 2 ways about this. Like, one way, I kind of commend the speaker because I feel like
Yeah.
anyone endorsing Andrew Cuomo needs to be punished.
Yeah.
Especially black politicians. Like, I don't get it. Like, this man, he was a bad governor. We talked about it earlier. Like, he covered up deaths of old people in COVID and nursing homes. He
do
has
a lot of underhanded shit.
He has 13 credible sexual harassment allegations against him, and he resigned as governor. There are people who literally called on him to resign that are now supporting him to be the mayor. So I think, like, politically, I think there should be repercussions. I think black communities, like the black community, like, we need to pay attention to these politicians who are endorsing Andrew Cuomo. And I think there should be political backlash against them. So, like, on one end, I commend the speaker on that. Like, more punishment for people endorsing Andrew Cuomo. On the other side of it, the speaker is running for mayor as like the no drama candidate, and this is petty.
Oh, Boots. Boots. And she said, you can't sit with us.
Literally, like, it's super petty. And then staying on topic of the speaker, the speaker's running for mayor, and she recently released a universal basic income plan. And so I really like this plan, and I think it's a good idea. So basically what it would do is it would help 15,000 homeless children who are 5 years or younger. And so it would provide them with an initial $2,500 payment.
This goes to the mother?
No, this is to affect homeless children.
Okay.
And then children who are just aging out of foster care.
Okay.
And so it's initially going to give them a $2,500 stipend. And then it's going to follow monthly payments for 3 years. And they're going to get $1,000 a month is the plan. And so this plan is like based off of a plan that is already initiated that the speaker has supported in the city council. Which was granting, the speaker had funded a granted income program for 161 pregnant women.
Oh, okay.
And then there are actual women in that program who use that money to move out of homelessness. And so,
Nice.
Yeah, I think this is a really cool idea. I think homelessness is, first of all, like, I think one of the biggest issues in this election, the mayor's election, is going to be sort of housing. Like, people just think the rent is too high. Homelessness is also a huge problem. I think we have big problems, and I think we need big solutions. And also what I like about this is it's not a study. Sort of this, we know that this works.
Like, it's proven.
Yeah, it's proven that this works.
Benefits, yeah.
And so I'm guessing, like, if she's elected mayor, she's gonna try to implement this, you know, on a large citywide scale, and hopefully get some homeless people off the street.
I think anytime you're putting money into the pockets of the people, like, it's bound to work in a lot of ways. I'm just curious to see how it passes and how more policies can be put in place to try to remedy like the disparities like financially that exist within the community.
How I think this works is that it doesn't have to pass.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, and so one of the cool things I think about the mayoralship is you basically can move policy priorities through the budget. And so basically I think what's going to happen is she's going to make this a line item in the budget. And so this is going to be a budget priority where she's just going to spend this money as an initiative, like as a program. So she's going to fund it as a program. And I don't think this needs to pass the council. And I think that's the cool thing about the mayor that I think a lot of people don't realize is that specific laws have to be passed on the city council side, but the mayor can push policy priorities or like things that they want to do. The mayor can push that just like in the budget. It's just like,
that's really dope.
If the mayor wanted to remove funding from the NYPD, they can just do that in the budget.
Now,
if they wanted, literally, like if the mayor wanted to allocate more community resources to like gun violence programs, they could give that $1 billion if they wanted to, if the city council agreed on it. Because like I said before, they have to sort of agree on a budget. But I think that's one of the cool things about the mayor's the mayoralship or being the mayor of New York City. I think this is funny. So basically, Mayor Adams, who is running for re-election now as an independent, he's no longer a Democrat, he announced a policy idea to have universal after school. And I think right now he's trying to move this in the city budget because he's still the mayor.
Okay.
And so the city the city is currently negotiating the budget. But basically, there's another candidate running for mayor, State Senator Zelnor Myrie. And this was like, I feel like he was the first candidate I saw introduce this plan.
This was in the last election that he proposed?
No, it's in this election that he proposed it. But I think he was the first one to propose this plan. And it was like the main thing. Obviously, the election is next month. They're releasing plans like, as the election is ongoing. But I think this was the main thing that he first started running on. And so basically, Mayor Adams stole this policy idea from him and is now running on it. And then literally, and also just like, I think the mayor is full of shit again because his entire administration over the last 3.5 years, he's literally been cutting funding for libraries, cutting funding for critical services that New Yorkers need. Now that it's time for re-election, you want to run on a universal after-school policy plan. I don't think he's trying to push it in the budget now, but like, what were you doing in the last 3.5 years?
Shit about kids.
Yeah, like you want to act like you care about kids. Like you don't give a fuck about any of the kids in New York City. Also, like when I was a kid growing up, I literally used to go to the library after school. Like that was my after-school program. Literally, libraries had to close one day out of the week because you cut library funding. Like, don't act like you give a fuck about the children of New York City because you don't. And if you did, you've been mayor for 3.5 years. Like
you couldn't have did this before.
Yeah, you could have proposed this in the budget before. The city council has been trying to push the mayor to, fund initiatives like this. I'm sure the city council would have agreed to an after school for all program. The mayor don't care about this at all.
Which just makes me think, and you were kind of touching on this when you were talking about Cuomo earlier, but like, I just really want Black folks, members of our community, to like see through the performativeness of politics and like looking at like policy that suddenly pops up out of nowhere, or just like the very unimportant statements or like promises that politicians make that are like baseless or don't end up going anywhere. Like, we really got to put feet to fire and like understand like where change actually lies and where power actually lies. Like, what can folks do today and now to help out?
I agree. I feel like people generally just like don't be paying attention, so they just don't realize that these people are full of shit.
Fair.
Also, I personally just want people to just tap in and pay attention more. Because if you're just paying attention and you just understood what was going on, you would just be like, oh, this nigga is full of shit. Like, you literally been sitting here for 3.5 years, cutting funding from libraries, and now you want to talk about, I want to fund after school for all after somebody else is running on that idea. And the idea is popular. Also, he's probably running on it now because it's a popular idea. It may be gaining traction. And he wants to make it seem like...
That's a clear way to get support.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
We need to start burning things. That's what we need to start doing.
Moving on in the mayor's race, the candidate who's in second place, Assembly Member Zoran Mammadani, he recently made a video asking his supporters to donate money to the campaign of the Speaker of the City Council, Adrian Adams.
Mm-hmm.
So in the polling right now, Adrian is in third place, Zoran is in second, and then Andrew Cuomo, former governor and serial sexual harasser,
Just to be clear,
is in first. And so basically, I think this is going to be the exciting part of the race. This is only New York City's second ranked choice voting election. And so I think if you want to win this race, you got to start playing chess. And so the candidates are going to start playing chess. I think we're going to start seeing more moves like this. I don't know Zoran well. He's pretty young. He also hasn't been an assembly member long, but I think he's smart. I think he wants to win this race.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to play chess to do it. And there's sort of a way that you can maneuver the ranked choice to work in your favor. So like, for an example, in the last election, Maya Wiley, in the first round, she was second. And then the woman who ended up actually in second place, Catherine Garcia, she was in third.
Mm-hmm.
But her and Andrew Yang endorsed each other. And so when ranked choice played out, she got a lot of Andrew Yang's votes, maybe like in the later rounds.
Right.
And so it bumped her over Maya in the end. And she wound up in second place, almost winning the election. And so I think that's what a lot of the candidates are going to start doing.
I hate to bring All-Stars back into it, but it's really giving Alliance.
You're like making a lot of like drag race.
As long as it's not Cuomo, like I think like the folks are like anybody but Cuomo. Like let's band together and just get our votes.
Yeah.
Amongst ourselves.
And the other thing is the speaker, Adrian Adams, her funding has been pretty low. And so you need to raise a lot of money or not a lot of money, because New York City has funding caps on like how much you can spend in an election.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a campaign matching system. And so if you raise a certain amount of donations, you get matching. But she hasn't qualified for matching funds yet. And so basically, also like how Zoran sort of talked about why he was doing this is basically like, it's all the candidates running against Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah.
Like they don't want him to be mayor. They don't think he would be a good mayor. I agree with them. And so like they want everyone to be strong, to be able to sort of like spend their money attacking Cuomo on TV, attacking Cuomo on digital, attacking Cuomo on social. And you need money to run a campaign, you know?
There's just so many candidates. Like the Working Families Party alone, there's 4 or 5.
Yeah, they're
like that.
Yeah, so the Working Family Party endorsed 4 candidates, which is Zoran,
Mm-hmm.
Speaker Adams, Brad Lander, and then State Senator Zelnor Mari. How much are you paying attention?
I don't know much about the mayoral race. I just know walking down 125th, like I've been handed so many pamphlets from one that passed around 125th, but just like a bunch of different candidates. So I'm going to tap in.
Have you seen any ads on TV?
Surprisingly, no.
Are
you like getting bombarded with messages?
Yeah, when I'm watching streaming. So I'm interested to see, because like right now, Zelnor Mari is not polling high. But I feel like he's spending a lot of money on television ads. I get like every other ad is a Zelnor Mari ad. And then also, he's not the only one. Brad Lander is also spending money on digital, like social media ads. But Zelnor Mari is also the only candidate that I've been served like ads while I'm like scrolling on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then IG and Facebook are together. So it's like...
They need to get on TikTok. That's what they need to do. Usually
what happens in an election is like, in the last mayor's election, the candidate that spent the most on digital, which was Eric Adams, won the race. Yeah. So I'm interested to see if there's any movement in the polls, because it's like every other ad I've been seeing is Zelnor ad. And it's like every other ad I'm swiping on IG is a Zelnor ad. So he's spending money, and it's like, I remember talking to my one friend, and he basically, like, he regretted voting for Eric Adams. But he basically, when he went to vote, he was like, Eric was the person whose ads I saw the most.
Yeah.
He was like, he was black. He seemed like a decent person.
Yeah,
so I voted for him.
a decent pick.
And so I think that's a lot of people vote like that. Like, it's going to be whose ads they see the most, who they think seems like a decent person.
And unfortunately for me, like, I'm not on social media as much right now, so I don't see many ads. And on the news, like, the only things that I hear are messaging concerning Cuomo and Eric Adams. So it's kind of like they're still the front runners in the media.
Yeah. So now we're moving on to a segment that we like to call Dumbest Thing I Seen on the Internet. And so this is a chance for us to just talk about dumb shit that we see on the internet. And so this episode, my dumb thing that I seen on the internet is from council member Vicky Palladino, who is arguably the dumbest council member in the city council. And so she quote tweeted a post from mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani, and it's literally a video. He's talking about his plan to help small businesses in New York. And she quote tweeted it, and she literally writes, fun fact, his government-run grocery stores with their subsidized products would put every local bodega and deli out of business almost overnight. And so she's talking about a plan that Zoran has.
Mm-hmm.
He has a plan where he wants to open one city-run grocery store in every borough. And so she's trying to make an assumption that if the city owns one grocery store in every borough, that every single bodega in New York City and deli is going to go out of business overnight. Also, that's like trying to make an assumption that, like, say I live in Harlem and the city-owned grocery store is in Manhattan, is like 20, it's like 25 minutes away from me. Like, I'm not driving in the middle of the, like at 2 o'clock in the morning. Also, I don't think the city-run grocery stores will be open at 2 a.m. in the morning, but I'm not driving 25 minutes at 2 a.m. in the morning to go get a chopped cheese from the city-run grocery store. Like, I'm walking to the corner to go to my local bodega.
I think bodegas are just like embedded so deeply in New York culture. Like, you go to Ock, like, you get your chopped cheese, like, that's your person. Like, you grew up, you know them, like, they know you. Like, what's gonna make you leave to go to the city-run store over your family's?
I feel like this is what Republicans do, is like they try to fairmonger on policies that are like popular and like solutions that are actually trying to help people. It's like New Yorkers are saying that groceries are too high. So like Zoran has come up with a plan that will open city-run grocery stores that will, you know, sell New Yorkers cheaper groceries. Like
food deserts, like all of these different
You're trying to scare people into like not supporting this idea and not supporting Zoran, talking about delis and bodegas is going to go out of business overnight. But where is your plan to lower groceries for New Yorkers? Like, y'all don't have no plans to do anything except give more money to rich people. So it's like you trying to shit on this idea and scare people away from supporting progressive ideas, but y'all don't actually have any ideas to like make rent cheaper, make groceries more affordable, or like lower the cost for everyday New Yorkers.
Where are the plans?
Literally, like y'all say, like you sitting up in the city council, literally this woman is so dumb. Like every other word that comes out of her mouth is so stupid.
Is she dumber than Marjorie?
They're comparable. Actually, no. Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually maybe one of the stupidest politicians elected. Yeah. And then also Vicky Palladino, she has like, I don't think she's passed any legislation in the council. It's just like, she's just there to tweet racist shit at people and like try to like scare people out of, you know, decent ideas. But she's like one of the most unsuccessful, like unproductive council members like in the city council.
And she look racist.
Oh no, I 100% feel that like she is 100% a racist. But that's my dumbest thing I've seen on the internet.
That's pretty fucking dumb.
What's yours?
So mine, Goes back to donkey of the day, President Donald Trump. His administration has issued a statement saying that they are barring or banning Harvard University from enrolling foreign students, and that thousands of their formerly enrolled students must transfer to other institutions. And I just think this is so dumb because it's contrary to everything that his campaign administration stands for in terms of returning power back into the states, empowering U.S. American-run businesses, institutions. Like the higher education system in the United States is like one to be rivaled. Like even if like the U.S. is known for having a terrible American education system, like we're still ranked in the top like 5 institutions or nations for higher education, whether that's by perception or student performance. And so like international students coming to the States for education, paying tuition dollars, like that's revenue going back into these schools, therefore back into the country. And so this is gonna, if this goes into effect, and I saw that there was a judge that basically like blocked this from happening, I think today, but that's going to cripple these universities if international students aren't able to attend because of the fact that they have to pay full tuition in order to enroll into the school. So I don't know. This was dumb as fuck to me. It's just completely opposite of everything that he says that he stands for. And just, again, shows how fucking dumb he is because he just does shit and doesn't realize the implications of it, even in representing his own policies.
Yeah, there's universities that literally are only staying open because
of international tuition.
Of international students. And so this probably, I mean, this is only Harvard right now, right?
This is that. So basically, he's retaliating because Harvard was one of the very few universities that took a stance against his anti-DEI expectations or policies, and they said, no, we're not doing it. And so he followed up and is saying, in retaliation, you can't enroll international students. But I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. When I was in undergrad, I worked as an assistant in the admissions office. And so I literally had to like scan in like international student applications, their like financial packages that they were receiving from their governments. And their governments were giving them like hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to attend these universities. And that's going directly into the institution. So like, I'm just really struggling to understand like where this is a good thing. Like, how is this benefiting? It's clearly retaliation.
Also, I feel like Republicans always want to scream that they're like the Freedom Party, the Free Choice Party.
Free where?
But this is clearly just like an overreach of his presidential powers to like target specifically one university that won't implement policies that he's trying to implement. And it's just like, this is just an overreach and an overuse of your powers, and you're retaliating and being petty because someone is literally like hurting your ego and you're trying to retaliate against them. And Republicans want to scream like, oh, we're the Freedom Party. Like, we giving everybody free choice. Like, we want to stay out of everybody's bedrooms and the boardrooms and let everyone decide whatever they want to do. Like,
but be in everybody's pussy, everybody's bedroom, everybody's church, everybody's like, literally they are the opposite of pro-choice. Like they are, do what we say. Like they are slavery, chains.
Make it make sense. Like, please. Like it really don't make no sense to me. Like, and also just like y'all are okay with this? Like y'all gotta wake up because like right now is Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Then what after this? Then it's the doctor's office. Then it's all the schools in America. Mm-hmm. Then it's telling you what you could buy in a grocery store. Like,
yeah, no, it just doesn't look good. And I think that, like you said, people need to wake up and start burning things.
Well, that's pretty much what we have for this episode. And so, yeah, mayor's race is still going on. A lot of stuff happening in New York City politics. But thanks for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.
Peace out.